Okay, good morning. Rant over about AI patterns and the absolute slop that is being put out on the internet for consumer like you and me to actually create something beautiful out of yarn and crochet hooks. Today, this one is just going to be a simple how do I make a granny square, and also how do I make a rectangle in the granny square stitch. I'm doing this specifically because it was requested, and also I have several people in my class who have progressed to the point of making granny squares and making them for blankets and sweaters and such. One of the first things that I teach my class is learning the simple basic stitches. Everybody is required to learn the single crochet. I do that because I want them to be able to progress confidently into the next stage, which is making the double crochet. Double crochet is one of the stitches that is used primarily over many different patterns. This is the stitch that's used in most granny squares, and as you can see, it's very straight, it's very consistent, it's a very good tall stitch to use. You can build a square like this in just a matter of minutes. I built this square and the rectangle square in under 10 minutes. Again, I understand that people crochet at different speeds, so I'm not telling you that you're going to be able to do this in 10 minutes, but I would hope that with my directions, you can find the ability to do a four round square in just under 10 or 15 minutes. Now my square, I use a 5 millimeter hook, which is equal to an H hook, and I used on this yarn here is I want to say that this is a Red Heart in green, but it could be Big Twist in slime. I'm not sure what the brand is. It is kind of scratchy, so I know it's acrylic. For this square, I have 4 rounds, and the rounds equal about 4 inches. So that's 4 inches across, and if you're looking to make the same consistent size for a blanket, you do this square, you get 4 inches by 4 inches. I have four rounds, so that means each round is approximately an inch tall, and I'm just going to show you some ways to understand the anatomy of a granny square. So when you're trying to figure out how many rounds you've gone, this is really genuinely hard for some people. I'm not shaming anybody, because when you first learn to crochet, it is difficult to know how many rounds you've done, how far you've gone, and it's not always easy to see that just by looking at it. So, fun facts about a granny square. If you count from the center, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, and that tells you you've done 4 rounds. But if you count from the side, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. So that tells you you have done 4 rounds on the granny square. And you do work in the round with these. I always make my granny squares with a magic ring in the center because I don't like a gap. I'm not one of those people who does a chain stitch to start it. I do a magic ring. I also do not do a chain 1 in between my clusters. So, and they all lay flat, they all fit. This is primarily because of my tension. I keep my tension the same. And again, that's just experience speaking. So I just want you to be aware that if you feel that you need a chain stitch between each of your granny square clusters, go ahead and put it there. A lot of people on the internet, and especially a lot of them who put out specific patterns, will tell you to do a granny square cluster of 3 with a chain stitch in between each of the side stitches. I always tell my class the first round is nothing but corners. The second round is nothing but corners. So on your granny square, you have a 3 double crochet cluster, a chain 2, and a 3 double crochet cluster. That makes your corner. Then to do your next corner, you do the same thing into the available space below, which is a 3 double crochet cluster, chain 2, 3 double crochet cluster. And you do that all the way around the square. So you do it 4 times to make it square. In this particular instance, I've done 4 rounds of the green to show you the way it looks when it's laying flat. I have a different way of ending off and starting my rounds. So you can see clearly here the 3 double crochet cluster with a chain 2 and 3 double crochet cluster all in the corner stitch. As I turn it, I build the sides up, and as I do that, I am doing 3 double crochets in each of the stitches, or sorry, each of the spaces from the round before, and that's how I'm getting my sides built up. Now I work this around, and the way I join my double crochet clusters at the end and my double crochet corners at the end is the way I do it from the very first. So from this first round all the way through, I do the same thing. On my very first crochet corner, I start by doing a chain 2 in the corner and 2 double crochets. Then I work the side, and I do the corner, side, all the way around. And then when I end it, I do my final 3 double crochet clusters, chain 1, and then on this very first one at the top of the chain, I do a single crochet. So what you see here is a chain 2 with a single crochet in the top chain, which makes this squared off here and squared off here. It also puts the yarn in a position that if you want to do another round, you have it already in the center of this corner, and you can do chain 2 or 3. Some people like to do a chain 3, and then 2 double crochet, and you've got another corner started. So my goal today on this video is to show you how to make a granny square. In the next video, I will show you how to take this and turn it into a rectangle. So it's the same premise here. I work with a chain stitch here. I set up my first round, and I go ahead and crochet the clusters all the way around this chain in a way that I will show you. And then in the second and third rounds of this one, I did the same thing here, where I started off in the corner with a chain 2, 2 double crochet, and I worked away around and end with a chain 3 double crochet cluster, chain 1, single crochet stitch into the top chain to make this rectangle. I also do something different on this one because I work in the back bump of the chain, and I will show you how to do that in the video for the granny rectangle. So let me get started and show you how I make a granny square. Now I make a magic ring differently than most people I've seen on the internet. A lot of people wrap it twice around their fingers and then pull through, and then they end up with a long tail. I am very conscious about not wasting yarn. Whether it's because of the way I was raised or whatever, I try not to waste anything. So my way of doing a magic ring, to me, is very simple. It took my class a little bit to understand what I was doing, but I think it's in the fact that I've just done this for years. So I have my yarn set up on my hand, my left hand, and this will be my feed yarn, and this is where I will be working. So this is working yarn or feed yarn. I grab my working yarn. I'm holding this tail between my thumb and my ring finger on my left hand, and I go ahead and I pull the yarn towards me, give it a flip away from me, and I hook it around my middle finger. This is where I keep my yarn for the first round. I tell my students to keep their yarn on their finger and use their finger as a helpful guide in order to keep it so that they can work. So as I've done my magic ring, I chain 2. And now I've got my first double crochet. Then I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more double crochets into this magic ring that is still hooked on my finger, and I'm holding that yarn tail right there so it doesn't come loose, but it's long enough that it shouldn't. And I'm going to work my 2 double crochets into the chain of the magic ring, or the ring on my finger. So I have my first one, which is 2 chains and 2 double crochet. Then I'm going to chain 2 and do 3 more double crochets in this magic ring while it's still on my thumb, or my finger, sorry. I'm using my thumb to hold it and help guide the stitches, and I'm going forward and I'm making 3 double crochets with the yarn right here. And so far I have built 1 corner. So that is my chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and I will repeat that 2 more times. So as you can see, I've got my finger still holding it open. I've got my chain 2, and I'm going to do 3 more double crochets in the magic ring. If magic rings are a problem for you, or you're still trying to learn how to use them, please feel free to do a chain 4, slip stitch to the first chain on that chain 4 to make a ring, and then use that as your center ring. Then I chain 2 and I do my final 3 double crochets in the ring. And on my last double crochet, I work the first 2 of the work through the first 2 loops. I go ahead and I take the yarn tail and I cinch it up tight like that. So now that is closed. I take my tail, and like always, I work over this with my crochet stitches. So I pull it up even with the final pass through, grab my yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to flip my tail over the front, chain 1, flip my tail over the back, and then I'm going to go ahead and join with a single crochet in the top of that first chain stitch. I'll lay that down, and now I have 1 corner to start with. So I have 4 corners on my square. I've got the chain 2, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 1, and a single crochet in that first chain. Now I'm going to go ahead and build the second round, and I'm going to flip my tail back there. So it's not going to come loose because I flip it over and back and over and back many times. So it does this prevents me from having to weave it in at the end. As I've said many times, I hate weaving in yarn ends. I also hate sewing in the yarn ends. I will do it, but I don't like to. Okay, so now I've got my first chain 1 of this round, and I'm going to chain another. So that is my first double crochet. Now I'm going to go ahead and yarn over, go through, and do a double crochet over that single crochet that is part of the corner, and I'll do that 1 more time. So I have now put in my chain 2 and 2 double crochet in the first corner of the second round. Now my yarn tail is just back here. It's a little short one. I will snip that off because it is woven in and crocheted in so well that it's not going to come loose. And for the second round, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and do a 3 double crochet cluster in the first available space from the round below, chain 2, and 3 double crochet cluster all in that same space. And I have my second corner. So my first corner is only halfway done. My second corner is complete, and I will do that all the way around. Now, by the magic of TV or YouTube or however you want to call it, I have gotten all the way back around to my first corner. So I've done a 3 double crochet cluster in the first one, a 3 double crochet chain 2, 3 double crochet cluster in the second corner, the third corner, and the fourth corner. So I have the second round almost completed, nothing but corners here, okay? And remember, corners are the only place that I chain to. Some people might put a chain 1 between their side clusters, but in my opinion, you don't need them, as your stitches will fill that up on the next round. So I'm at the final one where I've got 2 double crochets completed. I'm going to go ahead and finish that third double crochet of the corner cluster, and this is to show you how I make it so that it straightens up for the next round. Chain 1 and single crochet in the top loop of that first chain 2 that I did in the corner, and now I'm back to a part where I can start with the next round. And this is really all I do when I make a granny square. So I've chained 2, I've done 1 double crochet, a second double crochet, and now I'm starting on the third round. So I call these my corners, and I call these spaces my sides. So I'm going to go ahead and build a side cluster here by just skipping over that first cluster from below and doing 3 double crochets in that next space. There is no chain between the clusters, so it's just a space. And it's set up so that you can continue going around. Where you have a corner, you make a corner with the 3 chain 2, 3 double crochet clusters. That is all that is required to make a granny square. You can make these as big or as small as you want. You can start with a 2 round granny square, or you can go all the way to blanket size. However big you want to make it, it's all up to you. It's a personal preference. For me, I like my granny squares to be 4 or 5 rounds, because 4 rounds is about 4 inches. 5 rounds then would be about 5 inches. So depending on how big you're making, whatever you're making, this is a good way to do it. For me, my stitches equal about 1 inch, and if I do 5 rounds, that's 5 inches, and is a good size for a blanket. So most blankets are made with that are made with granny squares equal about 45 by 60 inches. So that means you would have 9 squares across one side and 12 squares up. So that would make a very good sized blanket. It would make a good sized crib blanket or a baby blanket. And just by using the simple granny square, you can achieve that. There are a lot of cardigan patterns out there that call for a 2 or 3 inch or a 4 or 5 inch square. So using a 5mm hook like me, if you have the same kind of tension, or if you're able to get that same kind of tension, you generally figure out how to make the square the size you need for whatever project you're making. I think that granny squares are one of the simplest ways to make a blanket the fastest way possible. So when you make a granny square, it doesn't have to be something that you overthink. Just continue making this simple pattern of clusters and chain stitches in the corner, and you can build a granny square in nothing flat. So after you've done all of the rounds that you want to make for your granny square, this is what it should look like. You come up with a very symmetrical, evenly sized square that can be used in so many different ways. I just wanted to share this as a simple pattern and a simple thing for people to make granny squares that they can use in different ways. Again, I'll show you the back side and the front side. So the back side of the granny square is where you see all of these bumps. It's not my preference, so I like to make sure I'm looking at the right side. But there are a lot of people who like the way this looks. The pattern is clearly a very detailed and looks very interesting when you look at it from the back. You can see how there are ridges built up from the stitches going over the spaces from the round before on the back. But when you lay it down on the front, you can see how everything is nice and flat. Everything is very symmetrical, and your squares ready for action in whatever new life it's going to have. So when you're looking at your squares, I just want you to understand that they don't have to be as complicated as some people make them. So I hope you give this a try. I thank you for watching my YouTube channel. I promise to get better at this. It is a learning experience for me, and at some point I will have a better place to show you crochet things other than my bedroom. But this is very comfortable for me. I have back issues, I have problems with my legs, and I use this area because the lighting is so much better in my bedroom than anywhere else in my house. So I will continue to make videos. Hopefully these help you to create things with confidence, knowing that you can crochet, and what you learn on YouTube isn't all going to be, it's not always going to be difficult or hard to understand and comprehend. And if you like my videos, stay tuned because there will be more. Thank you for watching.